Hi, grade 8s, and welcome back to lesson 4 in our little 5-lesson introduction to Greenfoot and building our little hungry hamburger game. So where we had left it off in the previous lessons, we had put the hamburger on the screen, we had put some ants on the screen, and we had done the ant movement and the teleportation. Okay, and the game, when we run it, it's obviously a little bit boring because the ants are just going out the right-hand side and in the left-hand side. So we need to fix that. So that's what we're going to do this lesson. We're going to do randomizing the ants so that they walk around randomly on the screen. And then we are also going to add some code that allows our hamburger to eat the ants. Okay, remember this is a radioactive hamburger, and we don't have the ants eating the hamburger in this game. We have the hamburger eating the ants. So let's go back to our code. Okay, so when I go back to our code, I'm going to go up to the top of the code here. And here, okay, so where I'm going to start here is after the speed. Okay, so I'm going to put some space in there. So between declaring my speed variable, my speed property, and my act method, I'm going to write another method here. Okay, so I'm going to, and this method is called a constructor. So a constructor is a very, very special method in Java. And you'll remember here in my world, when we said new ant, you'll notice here it said ant bracket bracket. Okay, well, when you use the keyword new and you create the new ant object or even the new hamburger object, it is the constructor that runs. So your constructor is going to be called ant. Okay, your constructor has to exactly match the name of your class. So whatever your class name is, that's what your constructor name has to be. And it is public, okay? And you'll see in our others, we had void in front of it, okay? For a constructor, you don't have anything, okay? And it's also the only method that starts with a capital letter, because remember, all method names start with a lowercase letter, except for the constructor. Okay, so there is our constructor. So this is the method. This method here is the one that will run, and it only runs once. So as soon as you say new ant, it's the constructor that creates the ant, and after it's created, then the act method starts running 60 times a second. Okay, so the constructor, like its name says, constructs the object. That's what it does. So inside this method, okay, I'm going to use a built-in method for actors, okay, and it's called setRotation. SetRotation. So setRotation is a method that allows you to set the direction that you want the ant to be facing. Okay, so if I put a number in there between 0 and 359, obviously, there's 360 degrees in a circle. That would be the heading that the ant faces in. So I don't want all the ants to face in the same direction. So I want to throw a random number. I want a random number to go here in the rotation because each ant, I want it to face its own random direction. Okay. Now, I can tell you, and I've showed you this before, that in the Greenfoot class, okay, remember there's 3 classes that we are mainly using, the world class, the actor class, and the Greenfoot class. Inside the Greenfoot class, there is a handy method called getRandomNumber, and that's what we are going to use. Okay, now because remember I'm an ant now, I'm an actor, I can't just say getRandomNumber because getRandomNumber is a Greenfoot method, not an actor method. Okay, you always got to remember that. That's the key. Okay, so I've got to put the name of the class that it must look in. So it must look in the Greenfoot class, and it must run the it must call the get random number method that's in the Greenfoot class. And now get random number is expecting one parameter. Okay, so I'm going to put 360 in there. So that means that get random number will throw, think of it as like a 360-sided dice. Okay, you rolled it in your hand and you threw it, and you got some random number between 0 and 359. Okay, it does not include the number that you put in brackets. It starts with 0 and it goes up to, but not including the number you put in the brackets. So if I compile this, now, and I go back to my program, you will see the ants are no longer facing the right. Okay, you can see this one's now facing the left. That one's like facing sort of down and to the right a bit. And each time I reset the game, you will see that they are facing, each one faces its own random direction. And if I run the game, they take off in their own direction and they teleport. Okay, that's obviously, we did that in the last lesson. So each time the game restarts, the ants are going in their own direction. Great. Okay, so we've got that little piece at least is sorted out. Now what we want to do is, we don't want them to just stay in that direction. Okay, that would be boring. So what we're going to do is we are going to go down to our move ant. Okay, so in our move ant method, what we're going to do is just underneath where we declared the variables. Okay, so these screen width and screen height, I've just come to the end here and I've hit the enter key just to make some space for myself. Okay, remember, if yours is not lining up nicely, just go to edit and auto layout. Okay, that will then start making it line up for you again. Okay, that'll make it line up nicely for you, and it'll indent your code nicely for you. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a comment in here, and I'm going to say randomly change direction. Okay, so because I want the ants to just randomly change direction. But I don't want them to randomly change direction 60 times a second. That would be silly, because then they're never going to really move forward. Okay, that would be silly. So we don't want it to happen every time that the move ant method, because remember, move ant method, this one here is getting called from the act method, and this is happening 60 times a second here. Remember, this is like a forever loop, okay, in the act method. So this move ant is happening, it's getting called, all the code in here is getting run 60 times a second. So we don't want the ant to change that many times. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to throw another random number. So I'm going to say if greenfoot.get random number. Okay, and this time I'm going to throw a random number between 0 and 59. Okay, so I'm going to put 60 in the brackets there. So now think of it as being like a 60-sided dice. Okay, so every 1/60th of a second, I'm going to throw the dice and I'm going to get a number from 0 to 59. Okay, so I'm going to say if that number equals, let's say, 1. Okay, now check out here, I put 2 equals. Okay, that's what you do in Java if you are checking to see if something equals something. This equals, you are not looking to see if screen width equals that. That equals actually means assignment. It means take this value from the right and assign it to the variable name. So it's called assignment. We're not checking for equality. In Java, if we are looking to see if something equals something else, we use 2 equal signs, or one after the other, no space, just equals equals. So every 1/60th of a second, I'm going to throw a random number here from 0 to 59. And if the number equals 1, okay, so my chance of this being true, okay, the chance of this happening is only 1 in 60. Okay, I've got a 60-sided dice, so the chance I'm going to throw a 1 is like 1 in 60. So on average, that means the ant will change direction about once every second. Okay, it's never going to work out like that, but on average, okay, and you can fine tune that. So what do I want to happen? Well, I want to use the set rotation again. That's going to change the ant's direction. Okay, and what direction do I want it to go to? Well, I want it to go to a random heading. Okay, just like I had in the constructor. I'm just going to say get random number 360, because remember there's 360 degrees in a circle. So this thing's going to throw a random number, okay, a 60-sided dice, okay. If it happens to throw 1, then it's going to throw another random number. This time it's a 360-sided dice, okay, and whatever number it throws, that's going to be the heading that the ant goes on. So I'm going to compile my code. Okay, so I'm going to compile my code, and let's go to our program, and let's see if it runs. Okay, so I'm going to reset and run. And let's watch. Oh, look at that. The ants are now like scurrying around and changing direction randomly. So that's much better. Okay, so now if I'm going to go and try and chase these ants down with a hamburger, at least it's not going to be as easy, because now they're going to be kind of randomly changing direction on me. Okay, perfect. So that is the randomization of the ants. Okay, so there's one more piece of code that I want to do for today's lesson, and that is we want to be able to eat the ants. Okay, so if I steer the hamburger around and I hit an ant, okay, then I've eaten the ant. And what I want to happen is the ant must just teleport somewhere else on the screen, and I will get some score. I will show you how to do the score in the last lesson. And in this lesson, after this lesson 5, we will deal with scoring. But for now, I just want to eat the ant. Okay, so I'm going to go down here. Okay, so I'm going to go underneath my method. Okay, so remember, here's my method here. There's my opening squiggly bracket, and this is where it's very important that you have got your auto layout done. Okay, there's the opening squiggly bracket for the move ant, and I look down this column, and there's the closing. Okay, there's the closing squiggly bracket for it. This is the closing squiggly bracket for the whole program. Okay, there's the opening squiggly for the whole class. Here is the closing squiggly for the whole class. So after the method, but before the end of the program. Okay, I'm going to go and make myself some space here. Okay, so I'm going to make myself a new method here, and I'm going to call my method bean eaten. Okay, this method here will check if the ant has been eaten. That's its purpose. So when we run this method, it's going to check if the hamburger has touched me. Okay, so once again, I'm going to make it private. Okay, so it's private. It's void. Okay, and then bean eaten. Okay, must start with a lowercase, no spaces. So it's 2 words put together as one, but starts with a lowercase letter. So bean eaten. And I open my squiggly and close my squiggly for it. So inside this method, I'm now going to check to see, has the hamburger touched me? So I'm going to say if. Okay. Now I can tell you, because I know this, and hopefully by now you will have seen this because you've looked at the documentation, because you need to be familiar. Remember I said to you, it's all about knowing the words, knowing the built-in methods, okay? So I know there's one called is touching. Okay, this is a built-in actor method called is touching. Okay, and is touching, inside of its brackets, it's saying, well, what class do you want to check to see that is touching you. Okay, remember I'm an ant now. I'm programming from the point of view of an ant. I'm in the ant class. So I want to know, has anything from the hamburger class, okay, hamburger class, capital H for hamburger, dot small c for class. Okay, now remember there is only one hamburger. So if anything in the hamburger class has touched me, there is only one hamburger. Okay, so that is equal to, okay, remember two equal signs. If that is true, okay, so if is touching hamburger class is true, it means that a hamburger has touched me. It has eaten me. Okay, and if that has happened, what do I want to happen? Well, I want to teleport the ant to another random location. So I want the ant to just jump somewhere else, because I always want there to be two ants. Okay, so if I eat an ant, I get the score and the ant just spawns somewhere else. Okay, that's the thing. It'll always just spawn somewhere else. So what method do you think we will use to change the position of the ant? Yes, okay, we will use the set location. The set location method of the actor class, okay, remember that tells the ant to go to this location. Okay, and remember, we are going to put two things in here, the X and the Y of where the ant must go to. And I want that to be a random place. Okay, I want it to be a random place. So I'm going to say Greenfoot dot get random number. Okay, so Greenfoot get random number. And what random number do I want in here? Well, this is the X. It must be some random X value. Okay, so it's going to be from 0 up to the width of the screen. So how do I know how wide the screen is? Well, we did this before. Okay, so I can say get world dot get width. Okay, I can't just say get width, because that is a world method. Okay, so I've got to get a world first. So get world returns the world that the ant lives in. Then I can call the get width method on that. Okay, perfect. So then I'm going to say comma. Okay, and now I'm just going to copy this piece of code from the Greenfoot up to there. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And I'm just going to change, instead of get width, it's going to be get height. Okay, so this is going to give me a random X value that's between 0 and, in my case, 800, because that's the width. And then it's going to throw me a random Y value between 0 and 600, which is the get height. Okay, so that there will be a random X and a random Y. And that will only happen to the ant if the hamburger touches it. Okay, so here's the method we have written. I must go to my act method now, and I must call this been eaten. Okay, so this method is going to move the ant, and this method is going to check and see that has a hamburger touched me. Okay, have I died? So let's compile that. Let's go to our program. Okay, let's run this, and let's see if I can eat an ant. Boom, boom. You see, they both teleported. Boom, went somewhere else. Boom, went somewhere else. So it is working fine. Okay, so the pieces of code that we've written, boom, boom, they randomly changed. I am able to eat ants. Okay, the ants are randomly moving around the screen. They are teleporting. So at the moment, we are looking very good. Okay, so I hope you had some fun in this lesson here. I will just put the code back on the screen here for you so that you can see it. Okay, so there it is there for the bean eaten method. So you can type that code in for yourself. Obviously, some of the big problems that you see here might be you've got the wrong number of brackets or something like that. Okay, and you'll get a brown here in the margin. You'll get like a brown dot that will tell you if you are incorrect. So you must make sure that the number of brackets match up. Okay, that's the biggest trick. Okay, so I hope you had some fun with this lesson, and I hope your game is coming along nicely. I will see you in the next, and which will be the last lesson in this series where we will do the scoring. I'll see you there.